Good morning, small business owners. Today we're going to talk about the hiring process, but very specifically, the interview process for new hires. And I want to start with a question. Are you tired of hiring new people only to watch them perform poorly and then after a few minutes leave the company, quit, go away? So today we're going to come up with some steps, some very simple steps that you can take to make sure that your interview process is as solid as it can be. This formula of interviewing, I think, can be really important to you. I think it can help you eliminate some of the mistakes that I see a lot when I talk to people, when I'm consulting people about their small business. So let's talk about the first thing in your interview process. And it's a question. Do you, as the interviewer, actually know everything you need to know about this process? Not only the job and the steps, but what its results are going to be and what its impact is going to be on other people. And usually, small business owners know these things through and through because they've done the jobs. They understand them very well. But make sure that you do. Make sure that you're very refreshed. Maybe you did that job and over the course of time it's changed a little bit. Maybe your company has grown. Make sure you have in your mind the questions that are going to be really revealing and really applicable to this candidate's answers to your questions over this new job. It's not only the task, but it is the results. Make sure that you are results oriented as you go through the interview. Understand when you start the interview that you are in control. You're the interviewer. You're probably a high-level person in the company, maybe the owner. Just understand as you sit across that desk, people are going to want to perform for you. They're going to want to try to give you the answers that best fit getting hired for this job. And in that case, you want to do something, I believe, early on. Obviously, you want people to be at ease. The more a candidate is at ease and comfortable, they're going to tell you the truth. They're going to speak to you. And that's what you want. You want them talking more than you, at least as much as you. And you want to get real information. You want to figure out exactly what they are about. And something I always used when I was at Outer Circle Products, because we had a very different and distinct culture, I tried to say early on in the interview to my candidates, I wanted to say to them, look, it is very, very important that in this interview, we level with each other, that you understand everything I'm saying about our culture, about what we expect, the results that have to come from this job, from this work. Because if it's not exactly what you want, we won't be happy and you won't be happy. So we want to make sure that both of us go through this entire process leveling with each other and get to the point where we know if you are the right fit for this job. That one statement I found almost always put people at ease. It kind of broke through the who are you? You're the manager, you're a boss, and the nervousness that comes with the interview process. I always like to do that, and I think it served me well in my interviewing. The other thing I think is very important from a small business standpoint is something I always did in interviews. And when I first went to this smaller entrepreneurial company, it was laid out very clearly to me. We do not have the "that's not my job description" mentality in this company. And my former boss used to say to me, hey, I'm the owner of this company. And if I walk in the break room and the trash can is overflowing, I'm going to empty it. And I want you to do the same thing. That's a different level of responsibility and taking down the title. That removes that title from this tower of I can't be addressed or I can't be talked to. It humanizes the boss. It doesn't take away any power. It doesn't take away any control. It just brings that boss into a place that makes people, all your people, more comfortable. So that's a little bit of a cultural thing, but I think it's very important in your interview that you pass that along. Now, obviously, you want to set up these interviews in a quiet and a comfortable place and in a professional setting. You want it to be a statement about what you and your company, your demeanor, your setting, what your company is all about. And you want to make sure that those things are just established. So that's not a thought, that's not a concern for anyone as you go through it. As you get ready to start the interview, make sure you have also just a short, simple grading sheet. You can take notes during the interview. I always explain to people if I'm going to take notes so that they don't think, oh, I just said something, he wrote it down, it must have been wrong. That tightens people up. That removes your free flow of let's level with each other. You want to get to the real answers. Do they really want this job? Do you really want them in the job? Do they absolutely fit the job? And do you agree with that? That's the questions that you're looking at. When you start the interview, and I've seen this go exactly the opposite more times than not, you're the interviewer. You should sell this opportunity. And here's why I say that. Do you believe in your company? Are you excited about your company? And are you excited about filling this role because it's important in the company? Then you have to project that in this interview. Sell may be the wrong word, but it is present your positivity, your excitement, and your commitment. And if you start your energy high in this interview, it's probably going to transfer, and you're probably going to keep that moving between the two of you as you go along. I think it's just very, very important to be upfront, sell the opportunity, and make sure everyone understands exactly why you're asking the questions that you're asking. Now, as far as your core questions, this is the thing that you have to put together, because as we sit here today, it could be any job. It could be a mechanic's job. It could be an admin job. It could be a sales job. Whatever the actual job is, you need to spend the bulk of this interview time asking very specific questions related to the tasks and the results of someone working in that position. That is the most important part of the interview, because it's really the core question that you need answered. Can they do it? Will they do it? And then you're going to try to find out from their experience how well they might be able to do it. So remember, your core questions are always things that are related to the work, the actual work that's going to be performed. And make sure that that takes up the dominant part of your interview time. As you finish, as you get near the end of your interview, begin your evaluation there. Think about how that person responded to your first of all, to your setup, then to your core questions. And now as you're beginning to move away from the interview, you're about to close. What is their body language? What is their voice inflection? Do they seem excited? Do they seem low and bland and really don't care? Those are just keys. Those are signs you can look forward to. Some of them are just purely red flags. Some of them may just be an uncertainty. And if you start looking for it before you actually close everything out, you might be able to get a little information. And sometimes you can discover information that might change your opinion of how the interview has gone, what the interviewee has actually said to you. I've done hundreds of interviews, and I have hired dozens upon dozens of people. And I will tell you that every single time I made a great hire, I felt it at some point in the interview. I'm not sure that I've ever, maybe once or twice, I've hired someone that I wasn't really sure they were going to work out. Maybe it was just a position that we needed to fill. They were real close, and we hired them and they became outstanding. But that's not typically the way I remember any of the hiring processes that I did. In the interview, I typically had a gut feeling that this person was connecting with me, connecting with that job and the tasks and results that job called for. And that gut feeling is something I relied on heavily. In my early days at Johnson & Johnson and even at Outer Circle Products, two very different companies, a large corporation and a small entrepreneurial company, I was tasked with interviewing and making a hiring decision after some review with other people. But I was told that I'm going to put my name on that person. They're going to be my hire. And I'm going to be associated with that person as their time with the company moves forward. When you do that, I think it puts a little bit more of a focus on your interview, and I think it puts a little bit more focus on your follow-up. And I'm a big believer that certainly in a small company, you can't hire and forget. You can't just hire that person and say, oh, somebody else will train them. They'll do really well or really badly, and that's not my job. It is your job. You've hired them. You need to make sure that you follow up. You've put your name on this person. Make sure their training is done properly and in a timely way. Make sure everything in the setup package, make sure everything is done properly so you get them off to a good, quick start. Show your professionalism. Show your connection to them. It's always a really positive thing when the person you've hired feels like they're not just another number, another warm body wandering through the building, that you know them, that you're thinking about them, and that you want them to do well. If you can pass that along, it is such a positive thing to that new hire. It will probably give them a little bit of a desire to make sure that they come back and show you that they can do this job and do it well. And my follow-up suggestion is, I think for the first 3 months, you should do very regular checkups on them. I think you should check up on them as they work, on their supervisor, if it's not you, and with them just personally. Ask them how they're doing. How are things going? Do they feel comfortable? What do they not feel comfortable about? Some of these things will be the difference in a great owner and a great manager, or someone who just hires and says, I'm done with that, I got other things to do. When you run a small business, your connection to your employees and your connection to their well-being and their work ethic and their work results will be a lot more important than these other things you think you need to go do. When you do all of these steps, you stand a really good chance of not only finding the right employee, but getting them set up and getting them off to a very good and a very quick start. And that's critically important because none of us really love the interview process. It's just not something that we want to be doing typically. We do have a business to run. We have problems to solve, and we have growth of our company on our mind more than we do the interviewing time. But when you have to make that step, when that hiring process comes up, do it well, do it very seriously, and do it with these kind of guidelines so that you don't just go into an interview room, ask a bunch of questions, and basically do a flip of the coin and say yay or nay. Because the cost in time and money to a small business is extreme. You don't want to be wasting your time or your money. Hire good people. Have that real good gut feeling about them and put your name on them. And then make sure they get off to a good start. I think if you do these things, it will help you. And I think it will also be very helpful if at the end of this interview, if you would just stop and think about your last 3, 4 hires. Did you do this process or something similar to it? Did they get off to a good start? What did you do to help them get off to a good start? And of those 3 or 4 hires, how many are still with your company now, maybe 3, 4, 5 months later? And you can evaluate what kind of employee they've turned out to be. That's the job I think you should really look at as the owner or a high-level manager in the company, because that's your task. That's really a part of your job. And you may learn something. It may help you in the next one. I hope everyone has a great rest of the week, and I hope this video conversation about the hiring process has been helpful. Next week, we're going to do a little bit of a shorter video. We're going to go back and do a question and answer session. Since we have been doing the Sid Nickel consulting subjects here on the channel, I've compiled a list of questions that go back about 4 weeks now. And we're going to just lay those out and let you hear some of the questions that I'm asking. Some of them are not questions, some of them are comments. And they are at times sketchy. But next week we'll do that and maybe have a little fun with it. Until we get back together, I hope you have a great week. Holidays are coming up on us, so take care of that shopping list. And I hope everybody enjoys managing and making money in their small business. Take care. We'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.